Hello there! In this video I'm gonna show you how to make string staccato patterns that will bring life to the background of your music, and then how to expand it among other instruments, just like this. My name is Karol, let's dive in. Okay, let's say you already have the chord progression that you like and you want to expand it. Right now, in its most basic form, it sounds like this. Let's begin with copying the top line of the chords and pasting it onto the violin. Make the rhythm we are going for, and let's see how it sounds. It's very robotic, flat and repetitive. So now let's bring it to life. The very first thing you have to do is change the velocity of each note to create a coherent rhythm with volume, reflecting the rhythm of the song. The note which you want to emphasize the beat with should be the loudest. In our case, the time signature of the song is 3/4, so I want to accent the first beat of each measure. Alright, now let's make changes in velocity within the other notes of the bar. Depending on the groove you want to achieve, you can go in many different directions. For example, we can go or like this. Let's say we settle on something like this so it doesn't repeat every single time. Now let's make the same changes for every other bar. One note here. I recommend you either record yourself playing or adjust the velocity of each note by hand, so you are not just copying and pasting the same values every single time. Professional string players can keep a somewhat consistent level of dynamics, but there always will be some slight differences. So making tiny adjustments like between 1 and 10% can really go a long way for this perceived realism we are going for. Okay, so now we can split violins in Divisi, which means we split them into two parts, playing simultaneously in 2 octaves. We do this to cover more frequency range with them and make them bigger. Let's adjust the velocity of each note so it's not the same, and let's see how it sounds. Now pay attention, because here is the secret sauce. Right now, violin players would be just smacking the bow against the string for each note. And it's fine, nothing wrong with that. But with faster rhythms like this one, the player would naturally keep the bow on the string in between each note and just apply less pressure onto the string, so it would feel more like a continuous movement. And this is how it would look like on the piano roll. I'm just gonna copy all of the MIDI we have so far and put it right next to the original. And then lower the volume of the copied notes around 20 to 30% compared to the original. Let's hear it now. Great, now we can move on to other strings. Let's begin with the fastest one, double bass, playing only the beats. Let's go back to our initial piano chords. Let's copy the lowest notes of the chord progression and paste them into our double bass. As you can see here at the bottom, I already adjusted the velocity of each note, and I want the double bass to only play the beats, so it sounds like this. Low frequencies are resonating for a long time, so basses shouldn't really play fast and dense patterns, it would muddy the mix. So I'm gonna keep the bass as it is right now. Next up is celli. Let's just copy the part of the chords right above the bass, paste them into our cello pattern and do the exact same thing as with the violins. Velocity adjustment, duplication of the MIDI, and splitting the cello in Divisi an octave higher. Next up, viola. Let's just do the exact same thing and just copy the next part of the chords into the viola pattern. I wanted to use the viola to fill some spaces in between the main rhythm, to give the string section as a whole this perception that they were never stopping. So I created this little alteration of the rhythm, again adjusting the velocity, duplicating the MIDI and making the viola Divisi. On its own, you probably can't hear much of a difference, so here is the viola with the celli for context. And this is what we have so far when we combine the strings together. You might notice that we are still missing the other violin, since in the orchestra you usually have two different violin sections. But in this example specifically, staccato is playing the background rhythmic role, not the main thing, so the other violins are playing the melody. Right now we have our staccato strings done, so let's give some of its parts to other instruments. A good blueprint for distributing parts to other instruments is that all instruments among all different instrument families share similar roles. For example, violin is the highest instrument in the string section, and it often plays the melody, as well as the flute for woodwinds and trumpet for brass. So we could give violin part to flute and trumpet, viola part to oboe and horn, celli part to clarinet and trombone, and double bass to bassoon and tuba. Of course, this is not a rule. This is just a starting point, so you are not lost too much during your experimenting. Back to the song, I just copied the double bass to the tuba, the entirety of the chord progression to the trombones, adjusted the velocity and called it a day. My reference for the song was music from Elden Ring and Dark Souls, so trumpet and horn are playing the melody and there are no woodwinds in the track whatsoever. So let's hear what we have now. I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't have that punch that I want. It's supposed to be a final boss theme, so it's gotta feel like one. For that additional punch we can use percussions. Percussions are things that everyone is probably the most familiar with, so let's hear everything combined. And here is what we have so far. Now we are getting somewhere. Time for the final step. The last piece of the puzzle here is the choir. It's split into 4 voices, sopranos and altos for female choir, and tenor and bass for male, both singing the same chords as any other instrument, with some small alteration at the end of each bar of sopranos for little dramatic effect. Everyone is singing the exact same syllables in the main groove, with manually adjusted velocity for each note. Which syllables are being picked by the plugin is controlled by this MIDI down here. Whenever I play a note in that range, it will switch the recorded sample. Without this, the choir would sound like this. I did my best to pair these syllables into something resembling words and phrases. In the context, I think it works nicely. If you're curious, the plugin is from Spitfire. It's called Original's Epic Choir. Okay, so here is what we started with, what we have right now, and how it works in the context of the entire song. let's recap. The most important things from these videos are: accent the rhythm of the song with volume, humanize the performance by duplicating the string staccato MIDI with lower volume, split parts of the chords between different instruments. When one section is decent and done, orchestrate other instruments and make some variations. Now that you learned a new way of making staccato patterns, you may still need a few tips on how to actually make boss music, and the video right here will help you with exactly that.